Hi, right. We will learn the next atomic property or its periodic property. So it is known as electropositivity. What is electropositivity? It is nothing but the tendency of an element to lose an electron, or else electropositivity is nothing but the tendency of an atom or an element to lose electron. Tendency of an atom to lose electron. So that tendency is said to be electropositivity. Tendency means ability. It is called as ability or behavior. Ability or behavior. So what type of behavior? Electron losing behavior. Okay. So electron losing behavior of an atom. Okay, so that losing behavior of electron is said to be electropositivity. So it is opposite to electronegativity. That means converse. It is opposite to electronegativity. Electropositivity is opposite to electronegativity in the nature. Okay. If electropositivity of an atom increases, then metallic nature of that atom increases. Metallic nature of that atom increases. See, smaller the ionization energy, the greater is the electropositivity. See, that means if ionization energy decreases, then electropositivity increases. Because electropositivity is nothing but atom to lose electrons. So when does an atom lose an electron? An atom can lose electrons only when the ionization energy is less. That means when ionization energy is less, then electropositivity will be more. That means the ability to lose electron will be more. Okay. See, if the electropositivity increases, so the capacity to form ionic bond increases. If electropositivity increases, the ability of an atom to form ionic bond increases. So when electropositivity increases, the ability of an atom to form ionic bond. So ionic bond nature increases with electropositivity. Ionic bond nature. Okay. That means when electropositivity decreases, then ionic bond nature decreases. Okay. So gradually what happens? The covalent bond nature increases. But here, if electropositivity increases, the ability of an atom to form ionic bond increases. So for example, if you take sodium, potassium. So out of sodium and potassium, so electropositivity of potassium is greater than sodium. Therefore, potassium will form strong ionic bond than sodium. For example, so KCl, let us take an example, KCl. Between potassium and chlorine there is ionic bond. So it is stronger than the ionic bond between sodium and chlorine. So like this, the force of attraction. Ionic bond is nothing but the force of attraction. So here, therefore, ionic bond. So which one is stronger ionic bond? Between KCl or NaCl? So KCl has stronger ionic bond than NaCl. Why? Because in both the cases chlorine is common. Okay. So leave that chlorine. Now compare potassium with sodium. So potassium is having more electropositivity than sodium. So therefore it forms more ionic. The bond is more ionic than the sodium. So like this. That means when electropositivity increases, the ability of an atom to form ionic bond increases. So in this way, ionic bond ability formation, ionic bond forming ability and electropositivity are related. And one more thing. Now let us learn what happens to electropositivity along a period and along a group. Suppose if you see in a group means from down the group. Simply we can say that down the group vertically. Down the group, what happens? Electropositivity increases. Why? Because as the size of atom increases, so the electron losing ability also increases. The electron losing ability is called as electropositivity. That means as the size of the atom increases, electron losing ability increases. Because when atom size is more, then the last electron will be far away from the center of the nucleus. Okay, therefore the nuclear force of attraction on the last electron, that means outermost orbit, it will be less with the increase in size of the atom. So therefore that electron can be lost easily. That atom can lose that electron easily. Hence electropositivity of that atom will be more. So like that. So as we move down the group, so as the atomic size increases, so what happens to the electropositivity? Electropositivity, the nature, so will increase. Okay, right. Next, along a period, generally left to right. Generally, if you say period, so we should say left to right horizontally. Left to right horizontally, we have to mention horizontally. So what happens? See, generally down the group size of the atom increases. Down the group size of the atom increases. Hence electropositivity increases. But as we move from left to right horizontally, so what happens? The atomic size, electropositivity decreases because atomic size decreases. So when atomic size decreases, what happens? So the nucleus will be closer to the outermost orbit. Therefore, the electron present in the outermost orbit cannot be lost easily by that atom. So that means electron losing ability of that atom will be less. So as the size of the atom decreases, electron losing ability of the atom decreases. That means electropositivity. Electron losing ability is nothing but electropositivity also decreases. Okay. In any period, strong electropositive element is alkali metal. For example, take any period like lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. So this is which period? Second period. So in any period, whatever the period it may be, so the first element in any period, so it is said to be first element in any period is belong to first year group. Simply it is called as alkali metal. Alkali metal. So alkali metal of any group, alkali metal of any period, so it possesses highest electropositivity in that period. Most electropositive element is cesium. Here lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium. See francium, so it's a radioactive element, so leave it. Now cesium. So cesium, so it is a small, it is large size atom. So down the group atomic size increases. Therefore cesium, So highest electropositivity in the entire periodic table is possessed by cesium. So cesium, highest electropositive element. Highest electropositive element in the entire periodic table. Highest electropositive element is cesium. That means most electropositive nature is possessed by the element cesium. Okay, so and one more thing, the ions of strong electropositive metal do not undergo hydrolysis. For example, that means the ions of strong electropositive metal do not undergo hydrolysis. Strong electropositive metals. Which metals are strong electropositive metals? So if you see, so first A are strong electropositive than second A. First A metals are strong electropositive metals than second A, and second A are strong electropositive metals than third A, like this. Okay, see, strong electropositive metals, they do not undergo hydrolysis. For example, sodium ion. So when reacted with water, hydrolysis. What is the meaning of hydrolysis? Lysis means breakdown. Hydro means water. So with water, so that means water is broken down with the help of this one. See, look here, the hydrolysis of this one does not take place. For example, if it is aluminium, then what happens? So it is not strong electropositive metal. So it is not that much strong electropositive metal, because third A group, aluminum belongs to third A group. So it can easily break down water and forms aluminum hydroxide. Okay, and liberates H plus ions. It liberates H plus ions. Okay, so how many? So here 3. So here it will be how much? It will liberate 3 H plus ions. So like this, hydrolysis means breakdown of water. So if it is strong electropositive element, so it cannot break down water. Ion. So ion of strong electropositive element cannot break down water, whereas ion of weak electropositive element, less electropositive element, can break down water to form H plus ions. So like this, the ions of strong electropositive metal do not undergo hydrolysis. Hydrolysis means breaking down. So in this way, so we have learnt about the points regarding electropositivity. Now let us learn another periodic property. Okay, next atomic property or periodic property is metallic and non-metallic nature. Metallic and non-metallic, metallic and non-metallic nature. See, what is metallic nature? So if any element, if it has low ionization energy, low electronegativity and high electropositivity, an atom with these properties, okay, can lose electron easily. So can lose electron easily. Hence are called metals. What does metals do? Metals are the atoms that can lose electron easily. So such metallic such atoms will have less ionization energy, less electronegativity, and high electropositivity. Okay, so if in that case only an atom can lose electron easily, and such atoms or else such elements are said to be metals. They possess metallic nature. So when does metallic nature exist means, so under these conditions only metallic nature exists. Okay, so metallic nature is shown by, strong metallic nature is shown by, already we have seen in our previous case. So first year group elements are strong metals than second year group elements. Okay, so like this, strongest metals are first year group. So as we move from left to right, from left to sorry, okay, right, from left to right, what happens? So metallic nature decreases down the group. That means along a period here. So in the group, down the group, what happens? That means down the group, metallic nature increases. So we have seen just now, down the group metallic nature increases. So now non-metallic nature. See, if you see what is non-metallic nature, non-metallic nature means, so here these elements, they possess high ionization energy, high electronegativity, and least electropositivity. Okay, such elements are said to be having non-metallic nature. So they gain electrons. They can gain electrons easily. They can gain electrons easily. So under what conditions an atom can gain electrons easily? When ionization energy is more. So particularly when electronegativity is more. So this is most important. When electronegativity is more, that atom can readily gain electrons easily. And one more thing, electron affinity also. Even electron affinity, when it is more also, so this the atom can exhibit this nature easily. Okay. Now, if you compare the non-metallic nature, so seventh year group, that means extreme right, not inert gases. Okay, just remove inert gases, and next to two inert gases is seventh year group. Before inert gas we will get seventh year group. So seventh year group elements are highly metallic nature, non-metallic nature. So next to seventh year group are sixth year group are somewhat less non-metallic nature than seventh year group. So simply we can say that these sixth year and seventh year, they possess strong metallic nature, so strong non-metallic nature, whereas first year and second year, they possess strong metallic nature. So in this way, metallic and non-metallic nature can be discussed. And one more thing, so along the period from left to right, so what happens? So opposite to metallic nature is non-metallic nature. So left to right, what happens? Non-metallic nature, what happens? It increases. And non-metallic nature decreases. So down the group period, what happens? Non-metallic nature increases, and down the group non-metallic nature non-metallic nature, what happens? It decreases. Non-metallic nature decreases down the group. Right. Next. So if you see, already we have seen metallic nature. Once again, if you see, first year alkali metals strong metal than second year. These are strong metals than D block elements, and these are strong metals than P block elements. Even P block also contains metals. P block contains metals, non-metals, metalloids, and even inert gases are also present in P block. That means P block contains even metals also. But the metallic nature of P block elements is very less. Okay, so first A group elements possess strongest metallic nature than second A, and second A possess strong metallic nature than D block elements, and then only the metallic nature of P block elements will be. Okay, so like this. And if you see the properties of metals, so metals are generally solids at room temperature. Metals, they are generally solids at room temperature. Generally solids at room temperature. RT means room temperature. Room temperature. But there are some liquids. I mean, there is an exception. Except mercury. Mercury is a liquid non-metal. Liquid metal. Mercury is a liquid metal. Mercury is a liquid metal. And even some metals like gallium, okay, cesium, okay, so they possess very low melting point. They possess very low melting points. So have low melting points. Because of their low melting points, they can be converted into liquid easily. So they exist as liquids at room temperature. So that means low melting point at room temperature. Therefore, they exist as liquids. Exist as liquids. Even they are also exist as liquids. See here, mercury. Mercury is a liquid. Even at the temperature very less than the room temperature also, mercury can exist as liquid. But these metals, they can exist as liquids at room temperature only. Okay, so they can exist as liquid at room temperature. But mercury can exist as liquid even at the temperature lower than the room temperature also. They can mercury can exist as liquid. If you see non-metals, they are generally solids. Sorry, they are generally gases or soft solids. Soft solids. Mainly, in general, non-metals are gases. Non-metals are gases, and some non-metals can exist as soft solids, and very few non-metals can exist as liquids. Non-metallic liquid, exception here also. Exception of non-metal is bromine. Bromine, it is said to be liquid non-metal. Is said to be liquid non-metal. Okay, so bromine can exist in liquid form even at room temperature also. Okay, so liquid non-metal. So what is a liquid non-metal means? Bromine we can say. Okay, right. I mean, because why do they exist as gases? Because they have very low melting and boiling points. As they possess, generally they are gases. Because of low melting point and boiling point. So because of low melting and boiling point, so the non-metals, they exist generally as gases. Okay, but boron and carbon have high melting points and boiling points. Here also there is exception. Exception is boron and carbon. So boron and carbon possess high melting points. So that means boron and carbon, hence they do not exist as gases, they exist as solids. Okay, so like this, the non-metallic elements possess such nature. And apart from metallic and non-metallic nature, so there are some elements, they possess the mixed nature, that means both metallic and non-metallic nature. Such elements are said to be semi-metals. Semi-metals, or else simply we can call them as metalloids. Metalloids. What are semi-metals what are semi-metals or metalloids? They are the elements which possess both metallic and non-metallic nature. Okay, example: silicon, germanium, arsenic. Okay, silicon, germanium, arsenic. Okay, so like this, antimony, so tellurium, etc. That means they possess semi-metals or metalloids. They possess both metallic and non-metallic nature. Metallic and non-metallic nature. Both metallic and non-metallic nature so are possessed by semi-metals or else metalloids. So like this, we can discuss this is metallic nature or non-metallic nature. It is also one of the periodic property because it changes along a period from left to right, and also down the group from top to bottom. So as it is changing, it is said to be a periodic property. Okay, next thing is acidic and basic nature of oxides. Next thing, acidic and basic nature of oxides. Simply we can say it as nature of oxides. Nature of oxides. What are oxides? What are oxides? Oxides are nothing but, so when an element combines with oxygen, then it forms oxide. Okay, when an element burns in oxygen, it forms an oxide. So oxides are classified into 4 types. So these oxides are classified into 4 types. What are they? Basic oxides. Basic oxides. They are also called as metal oxides. Metal oxides. Acidic oxides. Acidic oxides. They are also called as non-metal oxides. Non-metal oxides. Amphoteric oxides. Amphoteric oxides and neutral oxides. Neutral oxides. So oxides are of 4 types. Basic oxides, okay, or metal oxides. So acidic oxides or non-metal oxides, amphoteric oxides, and neutral oxides. Examples for metal oxides. Metal oxides are generally, they are basic oxides. So all metal oxides are basic oxides. If you see, out of basic oxides, that means these basic oxides are strong basic oxides. Strong metals form strong basic oxides. strong basic oxides. So which metals are strong metals? First A group elements and second A group elements are strong metals. Hence they form strong basic oxides. Okay. So basic oxides, they are also called as basic anhydrides. Basic anhydrides also we can call anhydride. Basic anhydrides. Basic anhydrides. Okay, so we can call them as basic anhydrides. What is anhydride? What is anhydride? If you remove water from a compound, then the leftover substance is said to be anhydride. For example, if you calcium hydroxide, let us take calcium hydroxide. So from that, remove water. When water is removed from calcium oxide, hydroxide, what happens? It forms calcium oxide. So it's a metal oxide. Calcium is a metal, so it is a calcium oxide is a metal oxide. Here it is said to be base, and it is said to be anhydride of base. Which base? Calcium hydroxide. So this simply we can call it as anhydride of base. Simply we can call it as anhydride of base. So this is a base and this is anhydride of base. In the same way, acidic oxides, if you see, generally non-metal oxides are acidic. See, if you see examples for basic oxides, we can write many basic oxides like Na2O, sodium oxide, barium oxide, magnesium oxide, calcium oxide, etc. So they are basic oxides. They are also called as basic anhydrides. All basic oxides, generally basic oxides we are called as basic anhydrides. Basic oxides are also called as basic anhydrides. Non-metal here acidic oxides or non-metal oxides, if you see examples for this is SO3, okay, P2O5, CO2, okay, NO2, etc. They are called as acidic anhydrides. They are also called as acidic anhydrides. Acidic anhydride. What is again anhydride? Anhydride means if you remove water from any substance, then the remaining substance, the leftover substance is called as anhydride. For example, take nitric acid HNO3. If you remove water from this, what happens? H2O, it forms what? N2O5. N2O5 is a basic anhydride. Sorry, it's an acidic anhydride of nitric acid. N2O5, it is an acidic anhydride of nitric acid. So this is acid and this is acidic anhydride. Acidic anhydride. So generally non-metal oxides are said to be acidic anhydrides. So like this, basic anhydrides and acidic anhydrides will be. See, mainly oxides of halogens, that means 7th A group elements. Oxides of halogens are strong, they form strong acids, strong acidic. They are strong acidic. Oxides of halogens are strongly acidic, like, or else highly acidic we can say. Next, what are amphoteric? Amphoteric oxides. Amphoteric oxide means they possess both acidic, that means they possess both acidic as well as basic nature. Amphoteric oxide possess, simply I am rubbing this one as there is no place, so simply I am rubbing this one. Amphoteric oxides. So third category of oxides is amphoteric oxides. So amphoteric oxides, they possess both acidic and basic nature. Acidic and basic nature they possess. Okay, generally oxides of metalloids are amphoteric. Generally oxides of metalloids are amphoteric. But some metal oxides also, some metal oxides like aluminum oxide, zinc oxide, tin oxide, SnO2, okay, etc., are also acidic in nature. So are also amphoteric in nature. Generally metal oxides are basic in nature, but some metal oxides like Al2O3, zinc oxide, SnO2, etc., they show amphoteric nature. That means they possess both acidic as well as basic nature. Okay, so like this. Next, what are neutral oxides? Neutral oxides, they do not react either with as acidic, they do not possess either acidic nature or basic nature. They do not possess either acidic or basic nature. Okay, so they do not possess either acidic or basic nature. Such oxides are said to be neutral oxides. What are neutral oxides? The neutral oxides which do not possess either acidic or basic nature are said to be neutral oxides. Amphoteric oxides possess both acidic as well as basic nature, but neutral oxides, they do not possess either acidic or basic nature. Okay, so such oxides are said to be neutral oxides. So examples for neutral oxides, if you see neutral oxides examples, mainly H2O. Already we know water is neutral. Water is a neutral substance. Examples, if you see water is a neutral substance. Carbon monoxide, water, carbon monoxide, laughing gas, nitrous oxide, okay, nitric oxide, etc. Carbon monoxide, nitrous oxide N2O, laughing gas, it is also called as laughing gas, nitric oxide NO. So these are So very important, just try to remember the neutral oxides. So H2O, CO, N2O, NO, so etc. So these are the main important oxides which are neutral in nature. That means they do not react with acids, they do not react even with bases also. But here amphoteric oxides, they react both with acids as well as with bases. So that means when they react with bases, they possess acidic nature. When they react with acids, they act as bases. Okay, so like this amphoteric oxide, they possess both acidic as well as basic nature. But neutral oxides, they do not possess any nature, neither acidic nor basic nature. They possess neither acidic nor basic nature. So in this way, acidic and basic nature of the substances are classified. So here oxides are classified into 4 types. What are they? Basic oxides, acidic oxides, amphoteric oxides, and neutral oxides. See, generally acidic oxides, basic oxides. See, if you see basic oxides, when dissolved in water, so that means metal oxide, when dissolved in water, they form metal hydroxides. So they are called as bases. So what is this one? It's a basic oxide or else metal oxide. Basic oxide, when dissolved in water, it reacts with water and form metal hydroxides. Metal oxides will convert into metal hydroxides. Metal oxides will convert into metal hydroxides when they dissolve in water. These metal hydroxides are generally called as bases. Okay, that means basic oxide will form bases. Again, bases are of 2 types. Water soluble bases, water insoluble bases. Water soluble bases are also called as alkalis. Water soluble bases are called as alkali, and water insoluble bases, simply we call them as bases. So like this. Okay, so generally bases are simply known as metal hydroxides or bases. Even metal oxides also possess basic nature, but bases means metal hydroxides general. Okay, like this. And if you speak about acidic oxides, see acidic oxides when dissolved in water, acidic oxide means non-metal oxides. Non-metal oxides when dissolved in water, they form what? Acids. So here metal oxide when dissolved in water, they form bases. Example for this one. Metal oxides when dissolved in water, metal oxides are said to be basic oxides. When they dissolve in water, they form metal hydroxides. Metal hydroxide. They are called as bases. So again, bases are 2 types: water soluble and water insoluble bases. Okay, like this. Basic oxide will form bases. Metal oxide will form metal hydroxide when dissolved in water. In the same way, acidic oxides. So non-metal oxides will form acids. Okay, when they dissolve in water. For example, take non-metal oxide like carbon dioxide. So carbon is a non-metal and this is non-metal oxide. Carbon dioxide is a non-metal oxide. When dissolved in water, it forms carbonic acid, H2CO3. It's an acid known as carbonic acid. In the same way, N2O5. Another example. When dissolved in water, it forms HNO3. It forms HNO3, two molecules of HNO3. So here nitrogen is a non-metal and N2O5 is a non-metal oxide. So non-metal oxide when dissolved in water, so it is a nitric acid. So it is carbonic acid. So like this, nitric acid and carbonic acid. So like this. In this way, metallic and non-metallic oxides, they are formed. Okay. See, we will end the class today. So tomorrow, I mean, in the next class, we'll discuss the remaining topics. Okay, Nana, right.